Good morning, everyone. It's Brandon Copeland, Allison Copeland, and Andrew Copeland with your morning yoga pose. Yoga pose that we are going to do this morning is our wide leg forward fold. I'll show you some, the seated wide leg forward fold. Show you some variations that you can take on each side to help stretch through the side body, and how to walk your hands forward so that you can allow length to happen in your back instead of pulling it there, right? And that'll make more sense as we get into the pose. But yeah, and before we get started, I just want to mention that it's been about 3 months since we've been in this quarantine, and so it means you've been isolated from others for about 3 months. So be sure that you're acknowledging maybe any feelings that you have of disconnection, of what they call skin hunger, where you want contact from other people. That can manifest in a lot of different ways, either mentally, like with your mental health, or emotionally, or even physically with your physical health. So try and get out today and maybe take a walk, say what's up to somebody, call somebody you love. If you do feel lonely, try self-massage a little bit, right? You're not all the funnest way, right? But just give yourself a little hug and keep it going. I know I was struggling. I'm a huge extrovert, and so in figuring out that it's nice to go into a grocery store and say hi to somebody, and that doesn't happen as much anymore, or connecting with friends and things can be tough. So be sure that you take your time to acknowledge what your needs are. It's nice to be still in these last 3 months, but it's also nice to know that it's not all about healing. Sometimes, I mean, like completely. Like some of it is gonna become repetitive, and you'll need to take care of yourself a little bit differently than you normally do. All right, they're ready for some yoga. Hey, that's his. You can't have his. This one's yours. Okay, so in our wide leg forward fold position, we want to start, as you can see, with the legs wide. Now my legs, because my hips are loose, I can bring my feet, Andrew, come here please, thank you. I can bring my feet pretty wide, right, outside of the camera angle, right? That's not necessarily the reason why we do this pose, but it's a result, right? And so what we want to do, and I'll show you so you can see, is bring the legs wide, but we don't necessarily want to point the toes or let the ankles be flat. The legs are the main point, so we lift the toes up and push the heels forward. Yes, come on, Andrew. Come on. You want to do the pose with me with your butt crack? All right, so now, with the legs wide, in our forward folding position, toes up, we're going to bring our hands inside of the legs, and we're using the legs as anchors. So we want to keep these feet very active like this, and walk our hands forward. And so you see even in Andrew's legs, how as he goes forward, his hips want to go with it, and toe. It's a natural thing for your legs to want to go that way. So try and keep the toes up, and think of this rotation in your pelvis, right? Almost like those little, like the Lego men, like where they like rotate at the half, and they have that little hinge. Try and hinge your pelvis. So that might mean bringing your hands to your hips, lifting your chest up, and trying to lead with your ribs. A lot of times in our forward folds in general, we think more about what the head is doing and less about what the lower body is doing, right? We think forward fold means head should get to ground. Like we kind of make it capitalist. Like this is what I'm here for, that's what I'm paying for, right? Give you what I want. And there's a process to get in there. So you want to keep the hips, the chest lifted. You want to show them? Good. And you'll notice I'm going to walk my hands forward so that I can feel that rotation in my hip. So if you do things quickly, or if you're one of those people who doesn't like this pose, most people don't. This discomfort is a instinctual almost discomfort that you might feel. And so a lot of times even people who have maybe ignored this area, or that have more weight here, or, thank you, okay, thank you, good mommy. Or have more, Andrew. No, that's just Allison. Or have more, store more emotion. Find this pose is more taxing, right? No matter your physical ability. And so one thing you want to do here is focus on this area of discomfort, namely your navel, as you go forward, and keeping that space elongated, trying to maintain a sense of balance and stability in that one space will help shape your pose correctly, right? It's trying to teach you probably about that space and maybe these areas because they're most affected. This pose isn't really for your shoulders, so you won't really find opportunities in your shoulders as much to kind of release. So we'll walk the hands forward with the navel in, and as you can see, I'm trying to pull it in first so I can lead my ribs forward. Now, I would encourage you in this pose, and I'll turn this sideways a little bit so you can see, if you get to here and have to start doing this with your back, just stop. Now, you kind of oversurge yourself. Otherwise, you can walk the hands forward, and as long as the back is straight, maybe bring the fingers down. This will be probably the average for us. The average person can get maybe to here, right? But eventually you will move myself, hit forward where the chest is all the way down. But you see, even then, my hips are trying to move. So I have to forcefully press the hips down and reach forward. And that opposition is your stretch, right? That's what you're gonna feel. We're trying to settle into this pose, maybe bring your forehead down. You can always use a block or fists. I prefer not to use blocks because you'll never have them. Like I always, for some reason, practice just in case I go to jail. And so it's like, I don't think they'll give you a block. So I don't know. This is how I've always practiced. So don't ask the common sense if there is none. But I just like to practice, like if I'm on an island or I like to be able to do all of my practice without the props. If you have them, great. If not, maybe stack your fists or rest your elbows. But again, it's not so much about, can I get my chest to the ground like Brandon? It's, can I feel a connection between this stretch? Can I feel the anchoring in my legs? Can I feel the lengthening of the ribs and the lower back and the chest coming down, right? And then back up. Variations to this pose. And of course, with your hips, any type of pose with your hips, it's going to take time, but it will be a long-lasting effect. Like for instance, I don't practice nearly as much as I should, quote unquote. But my hips are still open, right? Because when you start to feel those areas tighten back up, you'll want this feeling. You want that openness because tight hips is not comfortable, right? And so once you feel mobility there, you'll be more likely to go through the process of opening the hips, maybe doing poses like this with the legs, open or pigeon, etc., and getting used to that release. It's a really nice feeling of release, a controlled release. And one that you can rely on. And another variation of this pose is a side stretch that I'll show you, which I love a lot, and especially at this time when I want more touch, like I can touch the side of my leg, right? Or it's finding poses that kind of encourage you to rest on yourself is nice. So I'll bring one hand underneath my right leg. I'm gonna reach the left arm up, and then drop that right shoulder towards the knee. Turn it in so you can see. Drop the shoulder towards the knee and begin to reach for my foot. Now, automatically, you'll see or notice this side body stretch. It's a nice opening. This is one of the I don't say very few times, but this is one of the very few times I think where this side body is the main focus. We do lift up in our Warrior One, right? We try to elongate that space, but for gravity to do the work, and then eventually, right, reaching and then tucking the chin, looking towards the ceiling is what you want. I'm gonna use this elbow to twist my ribs. When I'm reaching for these toes, right? So if I grab the toes, I can tuck the chin and pull this twist a bit more, which feels nice. It's nice to breathe into the area, looking up. Again, here is just as good, maybe even this, right? The main point, again, is not the beauty of it, although it is beautiful, right? When you can do all of this and maybe grab the knee or whatever. It takes time, right? You don't give babies ice skates because it's beautiful, right? You take your time. And so try and find the reason why you're doing this, the fundamental feeling. Well, the fundamental feeling in this pose is this side body stretch. So if you feel that, you're successful. I don't care if you feel it right here. Stay in your pose. That is the only way that you'll get further into it. It's not by forcing yourself or, putting yourself through all kinds of physical, mental, or emotional trauma to get a pose. Never do that, right? Never do that. Never do it for a job. Don't do it for people. Don't do it for anything. Be honest. Be confident enough in your value to be honest in saying the things or doing the things that are uncomfortable, even if that means oftentimes for us doing a little bit less and being content with a little less. It'll give you more because you have everything you need already. So I hope you guys are feeling good. I miss all of you. I'll see you sometime soon. Be safe. Peace. Black Lives Matter.